we can learn to be kind. We can be known for it, even though we're old. Maybe it's, we think it's too late to change, but I think we can learn it and practice it. It's a good lesson from Zephaniah 3, colon 1 to 6. Listen in. Now, notice here in Ezekiel 22:25, this goes along with the prophets. The conspiracy of her prophets in her midst is like a roaring lion tearing the prey. They have devoured the souls of people, have taken treasures and precious things, and made many widows. They made many widows. That means that they killed many people, all right, to get what they wanted. And they worked behind the scenes, usually let other people do their dirty work, and they got the profit for it. This is the way cults work, but too often this is the way people, they're claiming that they got a message from God, but behind the scenes, they are being very wicked and devouring people, and they don't really care about people. Okay, now this is all reflective of their real master, who is like a roaring lion seeking those who he may devour. 1 Peter 5:8, speaking of the devil. So they're acting right in accordance with Satan and how he operates. And we see it all the time, whether we're looking at Wall Street or whether we're looking at, the giants in the computer world, whether we're looking at other industries, whether we're looking at governments. They often don't care about the common people. And even more, they don't really care about those who are downtrodden or oppressed. They keep that oppression going because they're making money from it, and it's supporting their lifestyle so that they can hide behind their walls and do all the things that eventually, now everybody's got cameras, comes to light, and it's the way these people are working. Okay, verse 26. Her priests have done violence and violated my law and profaned my holy things. They have not distinguished between the holy and the unholy, nor have they made known the difference between the unclean and the clean. And they have hidden their eyes from my Sabbath, so that I am profane among the people. Now, I thought about that. I didn't know exactly what hidden their eyes was referring to. But when I looked at one of the, some really top-notch Hebrew and Old Testament scholars, they said, and I can't, Keel and Detrich, I think is the names, they have a fine commentary of the Old Testament. But that type of study is really, they're very geeky. They get down to every little word. So, it would be a commentary that would be good to read if you were trying to go to sleep. But in it has a lot of good information. Okay. But they say they're covering their eyes from the Sabbath shows itself in permitting the Sabbath to be desecrated by the people without offering any opposition to it. Jeremiah 17:27 says, "But if you do not listen to me and keep my holy Sabbath day holy by not carrying a load and coming through the gates of Jerusalem on the Sabbath day, then I will kindle a fire in its gates, and I will devour the palaces of Jerusalem and not be quenched." So what the priests were doing, they were not looking at people doing things that violated the Sabbath, they were bringing in things to sell and to make profit, and the priest probably benefited by his association with these rich people, that he could be part of that crowd, and I don't know if he got a bribe from it. I don't know what occurred, but often people are motivated to not look at other people, what they're doing wrong. They have the motivation themselves that they might enjoy the prosperity of the illegal activity itself, and in days in our own time period, we have seen gangsters give gifts to a church, and then the church leaders kind of put a blind eye to the activities of the gangs. Maybe they were afraid, but they literally did not condone or condemn those people and their practices, because they were getting money to support whatever they were doing. It it just shows us sometimes when we don't look at evil and we allow it, and that evil kind of gives us some kind of money, the whole thing gets dirty, doesn't it? It happens, and God is against it. Okay, we should know the difference. Hebrews tells us in Hebrews 5:14 that if somebody is mature, they should know the difference between right and wrong, and these priests, trained in the scriptures, should know the difference between what is right and what is wrong, and they are compromising. Okay, and so it's something that Jesus talked about. It's what every prophet talked about. So these are common things that we even see today. Okay, that's what's so interesting about it. Now, so just like the bad guys are working in the nighttime destroying the souls, notice that, the souls, they're destroying the people. But even if they're not killing the people, their souls are so damaged by the abuse and the attack that their souls are deeply affected and wounded. That speaks volumes. Okay, that speaks volumes. Okay, now, verse 5, the Lord's in their midst. He will do righteousness morning by morning. Every morning he brings justice to light. He never fails, but the unjust knows no shame. So the evil's working at night, but God is watching. And in the morning, he brings into account the evil, and they don't even lift an eyebrow. They're not even, they don't have any shame. They're so brazen about it. Okay. I have cut off the nations. Their fortresses have been devastated. I have made their streets desolate, with none passing by. Their cities are destroyed. There's no inhabitant. I said, surely you will fear me, and you'll receive instruction, so that her dwelling would be not cut off. Despite everything for which I have punished her, they rose early, and they were corrupted all their deeds. So despite the discipline that God gave them, they never learned from that experience. All right, now I've got to find, there's scripture that relate to this. Jeremiah 2:30. It did no good for me, God, to punish your people. They did not respond to such correction. You'll be slaughtered. You slaughtered your prophets like a ferocious or a ravenous lion. Okay, so uh, it didn't do any good. The discipline didn't matter, you know. Now, it also says here in Jeremiah 5:3, O Lord, are not your eyes on the truth? You have stricken them, but they have not grieved. You have consumed them, but they have refused to receive correction. They have made their faces harder than a rock, and they have refused to return. I think that captures what Zephaniah is saying here. They didn't learn from their mistakes, but they also became more hardened against the Lord and more defiant. And what they did was after it was all said and done, they set their heart on their thoughts and what they thought was right or wrong to benefit them, take care of number one, and they didn't learn from the Lord. And that brings us to a great principle. Can I learn from my failures? And the answer is yes. But we have to be willing to learn from our failures, to use them to correct ourselves and to improve our situation by learning from it, allowing the Lord to teach us so that we can move ahead successfully with a better idea of principle that comes from God. He doesn't want us destroying other people. No, quite different. I've been reading principles from Paul from the Greek, and I've had a lot of fun with it. But one of the things he wants us to do, for example, do not steal, but with your hands, use your hands and labor, work hard. It's hard. And use that to help others in need. And particularly when you're helping them with need, you're doing it with some kind of skill. Now, the effort itself might be really difficult. Might be real difficult. You might get tired, and that's what God wants to do. He wants us to become loving, caring, forgiving, kinder people, where by nature we're looking to help others. That's the exact opposite of people who go and try to destroy others so that they can take what they have from them. I think about somebody who steals and they rob people of their retirement money, and they leave a lot of people who were depending on that retirement money for their life, and now they don't have it, and they have to live a lot more difficult life when they get older because people have done this. Why? So that they can get a lot, number one, that they can live the good life. And but that's evil. God would rather have us do things to actually help people. Okay, that's what he wants to learn. Now, I extended that thought, and I'd like to share it with you. Okay. In closing, I will say this. Let's read verse 7. I said, surely you will fear me and receive instruction so that your dwelling not be cut off. Despite everything for which I punished her, they were eager and they rose up early and corrupted all their deeds. So that goes along with what we just read in Jeremiah 5:3, that instead of learning, they went back to evil. Okay, and they're forcing God's hand to bring the captivity and the judgment of Babylon on them, because he does not want them to live this way, and they have been doing that so very strongly. Now, why do things for the needy? Some would say, and it's correct, well, I'm going to do it for the Lord. Okay? And I think that's about a third of the answer. Okay? That is a good answer. I'm doing it for the Lord. Okay? Well, why does God want us to do it? Others say, well, to glorify the Lord. And I would agree with that. That's 2/3 of the answer. Okay? Both are strong motivations for us to do things for other people. You know, to, do it for Him, do it for His glory. That's a great start. But the other third is this, and it's very important, and it's what the prophets are talking about. This isn't a social gospel. This is I'm trying to control a sneeze here. But this is something that He wants us to do personally. And He wants us to be transformed personally. This isn't a program. This is a renewal of what we are going to become. All right? So what does He want us to do? Well, He wants us to experience what it's like to love others. Okay? To love others. He wants us to experience what it's like to forgive. He wants us to know what it's like to be kind to others. And you know what that means? Kindness is, it's like goodness. We're looking in some way to be beneficial to the other person. In kindness, we are doing something that could be useful to the other person. I don't know. You remember the Boy Scout? Back in the day when Boy Scouts did good things, what would they do? Well, they would see an older lady and she's trying to walk the street, and they would take her by the hand and would help her across the street. Okay? And, they were learning to be kind and useful, to use their growing strength as young men to maybe help somebody who was weaker to get across the street, and not just show politeness, but actually respect for that other person and kindness. And when you got kids that are looking for opportunity to be kind to other people, everybody notice that child. Everybody will. I'm telling you. May their tribe increase. But showing kindness in a useful way to others is great. And that's what the Lord wants us to experience. So we may have to learn some skills to help other people, whether they are medical skills, whether they're educational skills, whether they're building skills, whether they're plumbing, electric, whether they are practical things like maybe helping somebody clean or whatever. And, we put those skills to practice, and then it becomes very beneficial to the other person and helpful. Okay, that's kindness. That's kindness. That's what the Good Samaritan did on the road. He applied what he knew to get that guy to an inn, bandaging his wounds, putting him on a donkey, and providing money for him to get rest and recuperate at the inn and cover his expenses if they were more. He showed practical kindness. And that fella probably does that all the time. Okay? There are some people who believe that was the Lord Jesus. I don't know. But the Good Samaritan shows us what it's like to be a person like that. A person like that. And we become loving, forgiving, caring, with an interest of actually helping others. We're beneficial and good for others. Now, the real challenge is here, and I think this is really important, what do I do about when I get older and I'm not as good at these things as I used to be? In fact, I might need more help than I ever did before. But we can still do something. You know, we're not gone yet, and we can apply this and still be loving, kind people, helping other people with the best of our effort that we can do, and we can be known for that. You know, even though we may have our own disabilities from aging, we're still looking out for the interests of others. And I'll guarantee you that you will be better cared for in a medical setting when you're that type of person. Okay? But you will also keep seeing the challenge of living because you're still involved in what in life could be very good. Now, my wife and I were watching a movie that was written by the sister of the gal that wrote Pride and Prejudice. And her sister wrote a book called The Wuthering Heights. And it was kind of a, the romance was a little bit irrational. Okay? I know, I don't always get into girl movies, but that's if you look at that story, I don't recommend that kind of love that they had. They never really had love. The only person in the story that had love, and he wanted his children to learn it, was the father, who showed compassion to the little boy and included the little boy, who was a poor fella, in the family and took care of him, gave him an education, and treated him like one of his own. The older son of the father, he very much acted like the prodigal son in the Bible story. Okay, I'm sure that was on the thought process as they were developing this story. But he resented his father showing love to this boy. And he couldn't wait for for when the father died so that he could throw the boy back into service and get him out of the house of privilege. He never learned what his father wanted him to learn, and that was to love. Well, the same with the daughter. She had a little more potential maybe to do it, but she never really learned to love somebody, like her father did. Her love was all about her, and her needs. And in the end, she died of self-centered preoccupation. She never really showed love. I mean, she had somebody that really loved her, and she never responded back in real love. She never had the love that her father had. So both the little boy, the older boy, and the daughter, all three had strong negative reactions in the story because they never learned to love like the father did. Okay? And I think that's part what Zephaniah is trying to teach us. Let us learn how to really take care of people in need. And when we do that, and we put all our life towards that, we always have a good reason for waking up the next day. We always have some goal in mind that works. We never retire from that opportunity to be helpful to others. So anyway, I hope that encouraged you. So until next time, may God bless. Well, isn't this a cool perspective? I love it. We can see our little thin layer of air and the area in which we live. So keep following me on these studies, and I hope that God blesses you. Till next time, We'll keep walking.